Hi, I'm Ann Turnbull with Max International, and I'm really excited because today we're going to do some training on the Max system and core skills. And this is really designed to be a 3 to 3.5 hour session, maybe in an evening or a half day on a Saturday, but it's also available to be split up into segments. And we have been doing some training in splitting up into segments of the core skills, which has really been working very well. So our goal with this training course is to share what the Max system is, the core skills that you actually need to develop, have you practice them, and by the end of the session, you're going to be extremely clear on what it takes to be successful in your Max business and how you can take these skills home and practice them and get really, really comfortable so that you're ready to go and build a terrific business. All right, so let's get started. So let's talk about the Max system. Now, the Max system is very, very simple. The Max system is simply build your list, invite people on that list to take a look at the Max business, follow up with them, and close. Closing just means having someone make a decision. Whether they decide they'd love to join you in the Max business, whether they decide they'd just like to be a customer, or whether they're not at all interested, it just means they're making a decision, and that's a great thing. So we're making our list, we're inviting them to take a look at Max, we're following up and we're closing, and then we are simply showing them a plan to get started in their business. Simple, right? And now, let's take a look at the core skills we need to be successful in our Max business. Well, guess what? Funnily enough, they look exactly like the Max system. The skills we need are: how do we build a list? How do we invite people to take a look at Max? How do we follow up and have people make a decision? And then how do we show them a plan? So let's take a look at the first skill needed to build your Max business. Core skill number 1, building your list. So the first thing we need to do is think about finding people to talk to. Now, has anyone ever heard this or thought it? I don't know that many people. Does that sound familiar to anyone? I've heard that before from people. I just don't know that many people. I don't know if this would be a business for me. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Finding people to talk to is a skill. It can be developed. And 8 out of 10 people who get started in the Max business, they'll be sitting there and they'll be thinking, oh gosh, I know my Aunt Sue, she'd be fantastic at this. My brother Bill would be great. Oh my gosh, my friend, oh boy, I'd love to partner with them. They'll have a list, but it will be a mental list. And it will be a small list. It'll be the people that come to mind off the top of their head. And guess what happens when they've talked to those first people? They think they have nobody left to talk to. It's simply not true. So 8 out of 10 people start with the mental list. Some of them have a written list. And a written list is key. A written list is what you need. And typically when I ask people, you know, do you have a written list? Probably about 1/3 of the people will put their hands up, which is fantastic. And when I ask, well, how many people are on that list? They'll say, well, maybe 20, maybe 50. If they're really great, they might have 100 or 200 names. Fantastic. But even that, if you've got 200 names on your list, here's what I like to say. If you literally sat down for 3 hours, could you dial 100 times? Because you're not going to reach everyone in that 3 hours. Could you make 100 phone calls? You could. Could you make 200 phone calls? You probably could. Could you talk to maybe 40 people and have a 5-minute conversation? You probably could. So guess what happens? If you really focus on your business and you take a week or so to get through your 200 names, and now you still don't have everything you need, you're thinking, well, gosh, I guess I tried. I guess that's enough. I guess, you know, maybe it's not everything I thought it would be. But here is the thing. The professionals are always adding to the list. We can add to the list all the time, and it becomes a core skill. That's why we call building your list a skill. The first thing about it being a skill is we need to know how many people we actually do know, and it's always more than you think. And the second thing is, how do we add people to our list every single day? So who do we talk to? Well, we talk to everyone we know. That's called warm market. And people we don't know. Cold market, people we don't know today. And relationships are always first. When we're talking to people, it's not about getting them for Max. Okay. So the thing is, Doesn't matter who you're talking to, relationships are always first. And that's important to remember because it's not about getting someone for Max. It's about building relationships that are genuine and building friendships. That is always first, and that's important to remember. So let's go to an activity. Now, what we're going to do, and if you're watching this from home, what I recommend is that if there's a small group of you, do both activities. If there's a larger group of you, divide the group into half, and each of you do one of the activities and then debrief. So let's talk about what those activities look like. The first group are going to talk about people they already know, people in your warm market. And what you're going to do is you're going to think about all of the possible places or groups or areas that you can think about to find people you already know to add to your list. So for example, it might be church groups, it might be a social club, it might be neighbors, it might be friends. Think about all of the possible groups that you can find people you already know. And by the way, in the Max Action Plan, there's a terrific memory jogger on page 18, and I highly encourage you to refer to that and to look at that. But for right now, just in your small groups, brainstorm everything you can think of around where you can find people that you know. And this does not mean that you're necessarily calling them about Max. It's just thinking about where you can find people you know. And write down as many places as you can in your small group at home. The next group is going to think about places and areas and groups where they might find people they don't know today. So that might be, for example, sitting in a coffee shop, coming up in your building in the elevator, going into the dry cleaners. Think about all of the possible places that you could meet people that you don't know today. And think about people that you could actually get contact details from. It does not mean, again, that you've talked to them about Max, that you are going to talk to them about Max. It simply means these are people you're going to meet and that you have the opportunity to get their contact details from. So in your group, write down all of the possible places or groups that you can think of to meet people you don't know. That's group number 2. And group number 1 will write down all of the places and possible groups of people they do know. All right, everybody clear? So let's go ahead and make that activity.